Loyalty to one employer can quietly cost you $110,000. Nobody takes it out of your account. It simply never arrives. And if you have been at the same place for more than 3 years without ever seeing an outside offer, the meter is already running. There is one number that decides how big your next raise will be, and it is not your performance review. I am going to show you exactly what that number is. But first, you need to see what 10 years of being perfectly reasonable actually looks like. So, let's build two people. Both start on $60,000 a year. Same job, same skills, same year. We will call one of them the reasonable person, because that is what everyone at work calls him. The reasonable person stays. Every year he gets the standard raise. We will say 3%, which is a very ordinary company number. Go find yours. It is in your review paperwork, and it might be lower. The other one does exactly one thing differently. Every 3 years, she moves to a different company. Each move comes with a 15% bump, because that is roughly what a company has to pay to pull someone out of a job they already have. In the years between moves, she gets the same boring 3% as everyone else. That is the only difference. Same work, same field, same decade. Now, quick thing about that 3%, because it is doing something sneaky. If your company gives you 3% and prices in your country went up 3% that year, you did not get a raise. You got permission to keep buying exactly what you bought last year. Look up your own country's inflation figure and hold it next to your raise letter sometime. It is a bracing afternoon. Okay, 10 years later. The reasonable person is earning about $78,000 and she's earning about $109,000. Same starting salary, same decade, a $31,000 gap every single year from here on. And that is only the salary on the final day. Add up everything both of them actually earned across the 10 years, and he took home about $688,000 while she took home about $797,000. She earned roughly $110,000 more for doing the same work, in the same industry, at the same level of skill. I ran that year by year in a spreadsheet, and so can you. 3% compounded with a 15% jump every third year. There is no trick in it. It is just multiplication being extremely unsentimental. But the gap is not the interesting part. The reason for it is, the number. It is your current salary, not your performance, not your loyalty, not the presentation you rescued at 11 at night in March. When any company anywhere decides what to offer you, the first thing they ask is what you make now, and everything else is a negotiation around that anchor. Your current salary is the input to every future salary you will ever have, which means the 3% is not a raise. It is a ceiling being set for you, politely, once a year, forever. Every year you accept a small increase. You are not just accepting a small increase. You are lowering the starting point of every offer you will receive for the rest of your career. The reasonable person did not lose $31,000 a year because he was worse at his job. He lost it because he kept re-anchoring to himself. Quick and important thing, before the useful part, this is general education, not personalized career or financial advice. I do not know your industry, your visa status, your health insurance, your equity vesting, your local job market, or how many people depend on your paycheck. All of those can completely reverse the arithmetic you just watched. Run the numbers on your own situation with your own figures before you do anything. Now, the move. Here it is in one sentence, and it is going to sound like a lot less than it is. And take one real outside interview a year, whether or not you want the job. That is it. Not quit. Not send 100 applications. One conversation once a year that produces an actual number. Because right now, most people have no idea what they are worth. They have a feeling. And a feeling loses every single negotiation to a written offer. Let's fork it. 1 year in, the two paths look almost identical. He got 3%. She took one interview, did not move, and also got 3%. She now knows what the market pays, and he does not, and that is worth nothing yet. Nothing visible has happened. That is why almost nobody does this. Year 1 is not a story. 5 years in, they are in different rooms. He is on about $67,000. She moved once and is on about $77,000, $10,000 a year apart, and the gap is now doing something quietly nasty. Every future percentage raise either of them gets is a percentage of those numbers. His 3% is worth $2,000. Hers is worth $2,300. The gap widens by itself now, without either of them doing anything. 20 years in, if the same pattern holds, they are not colleagues anymore. They are different social classes with the same job title. Now, the honest part, because this genuinely does not work for everyone, it does not work if you switch so often that a pattern appears. There is a real difference between moving every 3 years and moving every 10 months, and hiring managers do read the second one as a risk. Where exactly that line sits is a judgment call about your industry, not arithmetic, and anyone who tells you they know the exact number is guessing. It does not work if the salary is not where your compensation actually lives. Equity that is not vested, a pension you are accruing, a bonus you forfeit by leaving in March, health insurance that would cost you a fortune to replace. Those are real money that never appears in the salary figure. Count them before you compare offers, and count them honestly rather than in the direction you want the answer to go. It does not work the same way if your right to stay in the country is attached to your employer. If that is your situation, a job change is not a spreadsheet decision, and this video is not the right tool, and it does not remove risk. New job, no track record, first in line if the company cuts headcount 6 months later. Moving is a real bet with a real downside. It is just a bet that, on the arithmetic alone, has historically paid. Now, the objection, and it is a good one. I like my job, I like my team, I do not want to leave, and then don't. The arithmetic is not an instruction. It does not tell you to leave, it tells you the price of staying, so that staying becomes something you chose rather than something that happened to you. $31,000 a year is a completely rational amount to pay for a manager who respects you and a commute you can live with. It is only a bad deal if nobody ever showed you the invoice. The other objection is sharper. If I use an outside offer to negotiate, won't that damage things? It might. Some managers hear an outside offer as information, some hear it as a threat and quietly start planning around you. You know which kind yours is, and a counter offer that keeps you in a place where you are now considered a flight risk is often just a slower exit. Go in knowing that. Never bluff with an offer you would not accept, because the day they call it is the day you find out what you actually meant. So this week, 3 things, none of which involve quitting anything. 1. Find your number. Open job listings for your exact title and level in your city, and look only at the ones that publish a salary range. Not what you feel you are worth, what the postings say. Write down the middle of that range. 2. Write 1 page, not a resume, listing what you actually did in the last 12 months with a number attached to each item. Money saved, time saved, things shipped, people trained. You will need it in both conversations, the internal one and the external one, and you will not remember any of it in 11 months. 3. Say yes to 1 recruiter conversation you would normally ignore. You do not have to want the job, you have to want the number. That is the whole thing. No hustle, no personal brand, no 90-day plan. 1 conversation a year with someone who is not your boss. Because loyalty to 1 employer can quietly cost you $110,000. Nobody deducts it, nobody mentions it, and it simply never arrives. Unless somebody finally shows you the invoice.